Um, Brett just made a comment over on YouTube. It says it's easy to see why people become dedicated No Man's Sky streamers. So I can actually speak to that a little bit. Let me get through this dialogue. We found the cave I knew we would, but what a find! Great towering crystals of brilliant red, rich metal deposits, concentrated deuterium, all we could ever need. Now, if we get a dry night's sleep. So we're gonna need to continue chasing them. Any MMO or co-op game that has a decent population is a great source of ongoing content and streaming. So there are people who only stream, as an example, there are people who only stream to this day Lord of the Rings Online, Star Wars: Old Republic. They only like Star Wars Turista. That's all they've ever done is Star Wars: Old Republic. That's it. Their website is dedicated to it. The YouTube channel is dedicated to it, and it's a full-time. That's all they've ever done. I think any of these games that have been out for a while, it's a risk when you start a new game because you don't know if it's going to pan out. You don't know if it's going to stick around. So as an example, I would not have wanted to become a Lost Ark content creator because there's not necessarily a lot of long-term stuff there. But there are people who manage to find it in that niche. The problem with going hardcore on any one topic is that you run the risk of, if that game ever goes away, if it ever sunsets, if your interests ever change, whatever the case, the company does something that pisses people off that's completely out of your control. Like, there are a million variables that can happen, and if you've put all your eggs into that one basket, you're up shit creek. And I learned this lesson many, many, many years ago, which is why I opted for variety streaming, which is a lot slower in terms of growth because your audience has wild dips because sometimes you're playing games everybody likes, other times. A great example of this is I was streaming was it last night I streamed, Chris? Did I stream last night? I don't remember what I streamed last night. Was it Red Dead Redemption 2 last night? No, it was something. Huh? That was the night before. Even Chris doesn't remember what I streamed last night. So I'm getting 50, 60 people when I stream No Man's Sky. That's a good number for me. That's the same as like when I was doing Dragon's Dogma 2, Red Dead Redemption, Rogue Trader. But like I streamed something last night, can't remember what it was, and I had like 6 people watching. Now I don't have to worry about that because I'm financially secure. Other people have to worry about that. And which is why you see these guys who are always chasing what's, and I do have to be conscious of it to some degree. But if I have one thing that's popping off, I can be a little more creative where I need to be. But it's a much slower growth rate. But it would be easy for me if I wanted to right now. The problem is, when is fatigue going to set in? Because that was the thing that happened. What I've seen with my audience over time is that, generally speaking, at about the 2-month mark is when I start to... If I haven't reached the peak by 2 months, I usually peak out around 2 months after I start any big project. Because you'll get to a point where the audience kind of says, well, we've got all the people we can get, and now it's a struggle to, like, how do I break to the next level when you're doing only one project? So World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, EVE Online, any of these games that have been out for a very long time, you could theoretically become a full-time content creator for that, as long as you create engaging content and you're entertaining and everything else. But it's a lot of work, and it's a daunting project. You also have to figure out what works for you, because if it's a crowded space, Oh, I know what I was streaming the other day. Well, I wasn't streaming. I was doing. I've been playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. When I upload those videos, they get like 30 views, like 50 views, and it doesn't matter to me because it's just something I'm playing for fun. It's a 6-hour game. I could upload them and throw them out there, but I would never be able to make content around Call of Duty, because my audience is tuned towards like RPGs and crafting survival and MMOs and co-op. Miner says some creators started doing exclusively No Man's Sky. However, in the long term, they started doing other games, but became exclusive again for a couple of months after an update starts. That's pretty typical for a lot of, there's a good example of this is um, Wolfheart. Wolfheart Gaming kind of did that with Baldur's Gate 3. Like went hard and heavy in Baldur's Gate 3, and then he's played things around it, but he always comes back to Baldur's Gate 3. And anytime he does like he just did an update for Baldur's Gate 3 yesterday, and I think it's up to like 90,000 views. But he'll go play other things in between Baldur's Gate 3, but he always comes back around because that one was a major thing for his channel as an example. Um, I think I could lean into that if I wanted to, but I've generally tried to mirror what Code Carnage has done, which is just always keep moving. You know, you'll have waves, but just keep on moving. I did have a discussion, I think with Bubbleonia maybe about 6 months ago. I was like, it would be really easy for me to go full time on like World of Warcraft because it's a 20-year-old game. And I get pretty decent views around the videos I do in the streams. Not the streams so much right now because we're not streaming regularly. But when I am streaming World of Warcraft regularly, the views are pretty good. I'll get 40, 50 people during the live streams, and it's always growing. And there's 20 years of content for me to back farm. Same thing here with No Man's Sky. I've got 8 years of content that I can back farm. So in terms of if I wanted to go full-time on No Man's Sky, I probably could. Given the fact that this has popped off with my channel. Not every game pops off. Some games you don't know. Like I really wanted Final Fantasy Rebirth to pop off, but it did not for my channel. So that was a one and done. But there are games you want it to pop off, and it's like audience moves on, they go do other things. It's all good. Brett says when I start streaming, it's going to be mostly focused on genres, not titles. That's not a bad way to do it. Also, the viewers leave eventually, says Minor. But games. So this you're tapping into also one of the reasons why No Man's Sky can. I need to finish reading your comments so that everyone understands, because my brain sort of jumps around a bit. The comment was the viewers will also leave eventually, but games like League of Legends are able to keep a stable viewership during years. So this is that long-term thing I was speaking on earlier. If you can find a game like Lord of the Rings Online, Star Wars: New Republic, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, No Man's Sky, any MMO or big co-op multiplayer game. Halo is another. Halo Infinite is another good example. Once a game makes it past like the 3-year mark, and it's still maintaining 150,000 players on a monthly basis, like 150,000 concurrent players on a regular basis, it's probably safe to bet that you'll be able to continually find an audience to consume content. However, one of the problems with building an audience up that's also playing with you is that eventually so one of the reasons that everyone is enjoying my streams, and I've seen this continually pop up, and it was also the same thing for World of Warcraft when I jumped into World of Warcraft at the end of last year. Because I'm playing something that so many people have played for years, I'm a new player doing this, and so it's almost like you're watching a reaction video, because everything I'm seeing is new to me. And so that can be very entertaining to watch, because for a lot of people it's like, oh, I remember what it was like when I saw that for the first time. How cool is this to see someone else experiencing it for the first time? That will wear off eventually. Some people will stick around long term. Some people will go, you know what, here's something else that's new and shiny. And that's totally normal. People's attention goes in lots of different places. Mine does the same. Viewers leave eventually. Maybe one day you say something they don't like. Maybe you say something about a book, or something about politics, or you say something about a movie, or and they're like, oh, I thought I liked this person. They like this TV show, and I think that TV show sucks. I'm not going to watch that person anymore. Like, those things legitimately happen. And so, yeah, viewers leave. They go away, they come back. Some people come back 6 months down the road. Some people never come back. There's a lot of, in the MMO space, when I was developing our MMO, I had the benefit of getting to rub shoulders with a lot of game directors in the MMO space, which is really cool. But I think Yoshi P is one of the most intelligent people I know of in the MMORPG space in terms of understanding how audiences work, which is one of the reasons why Final Fantasy XIV, even though it's not a game that I personally enjoy that much, there's one of the reasons it has managed to maintain this massive audience over the years, much like World of Warcraft. And that's because he understands the cyclical nature of the way people play games, and people are going to go away and then they're going to come back, and they're going to go away and they're going to come back. And if you just accept that and just focus on making good content for your game, they'll always keep coming back as long as you're making good content for your game. So there's League of Legends is a good example of that. They have consistently been able, and not just because of, so I don't play League of Legends, but here's the thing. Arcana on Netflix was hands down the coolest sci-fi animated show I have ever freaking seen in my life. It was so badass. And I didn't know a lot about League of Legends before that. And then after I watched Arcana, I totally went away and went, oh, you guys are building an MMO? Oh, fuck yeah, I'm on board for that. Of course, the MMO got pushed back. They decided to pull it back and rework some things. But it got me into the lore of League of Legends and understanding more about that and what that is. So there are franchises, too, that transcend just the video game. Halo is a good example of that, too. Halo has transcended the video game, and it's moved into comic books and novels and TV shows and YouTube series and film adaptations that have come and gone but never ultimately reached fruition. I'm totally off the original topic, which was No Man's Sky being, someone to be able to, only make No Man's Sky content. But that's one of the things that fascinates me about games that are older, is that someone like me can come in and find lots and lots and lots of stuff to do, and then someone who has played it for 8 years, they've evolved with it. There are people out there who have been playing World of Warcraft since it very first came out 20 years ago. So I'm always impressed by the staying power of people who are able to just stick with something for that length of time and make a career out of that, only that one thing. My terror is that if that one thing were to ever go away, is your audience, because we've seen this happen with some content creators, like, is your audience, like, think about the people who played WildStar. There were so many content creators who got into WildStar, and that was obviously before streaming was a thing, but people were still making lots of content around it in terms of uploading content, making guides and let's play series and everything else. And then when that went away, you had dozens of content creators who's just their entire audience is suddenly left wanting because there's no longer anything for them to watch, and then they don't have anything to create. And it's like, well, where do we pivot to? What game is like WildStar that our audience is going to want to watch, that we're going to be able to continue on the same path with? And then there's other guys who just, it doesn't matter, like Myth, I think is his name. Like, he went from being like this Fortnite streamer who used to get like 160,000 people watching him live, and then years later, I think he's in the, I don't know, I think it depends on the game, but I saw a video recently talking about how, he only gets like between 50 and 150 people watching his live streams now. And some people look at that as a failure, but it's like, he made all the money he needed to make. He did what he wanted to do. And now he can just do what he wants to do and not worry about the viewership and just have fun with it. If you can do that, that's great. But I'm rambling and ranting, guys. Sorry, you got me off on a tangent. There's a lot of stuff in No Man's Sky. There's a lot of content here. You've got exploration, so uncovering new planets and all that other stuff. There's also the base building. There's the combat, space combat, the ships, the ship skins, like being able to make different ship colors and modify ships. There's the freighters, all the freighter stuff. There's the underwater stuff. There's suborbital stuff. I don't know what else is coming down the pipeline with Worlds Part 2. Someone is saying rumors is like more underwater ocean stuff. That would be really cool. Like, so the fact that they're taking technology from Light of Fire and bringing it into No Man's Sky is That's what impressed me enough to make me want to try this game, was them saying we're doing this. And I went, oh, well, if you're actively updating this game, it sounds like I need to get out there and play this. Um, because there's so much content here that I could take advantage of. I didn't know it was going to hit it off. I just was planning on doing something on a one-off, and then it happened to hit, and I went, well, fuck it. I guess we're running with No Man's Sky for a hot minute.